Hey makers, welcome back to Torina in the Making, where I share with you the things that I'm making and the things that are making me. And last time I shared with you all of the projects that I have in the works. It led me to also look at my stash, which is what us knitters and crocheters refer to when we talk about all of the yarn we have at our disposal within our home. And I have a lot, so I'm trying to figure out the best way to move forward and to finish up those projects that I want to finish and also use up the yarn that I already have. I'm trying to be responsible here. And I also bought some more yarn. I don't know what to tell you. I took advantage of a sale in July on the Yarnspirations website. I'd never ordered from them. I got this yarn. It's nothing fancy, and that was kind of on purpose because all of the yarn that I have well, not all of it, but a lot of it is like hand-dyed, indie dyer. It's artisan yarn. It's art. And it's expensive. So I wanted to see how garments would work up using yarn that is more accessible, because not everybody has hand-dyed yarn, and quite honestly, it's not feasible for me to always make garments out of expensive yarn like that. Although, well, we'll get to that in a minute, but I have a lot of yarn that I can make many garments with what I have, theoretically. Okay. Anyway, so what did I buy? I bought eight of these. This is Patton's Classic Wool. Patton's, not sure. I've always said Patton's, so I'm just gonna say Patton's, and I'm probably wrong. And that's okay. So Patton's it is. Be wrong strong. All right. So this is 100% pure new wool, and it's got 194 yards in this, and it's 100 grams. So that is definitely a worsted weight. Worsted yarn has these funky terms. So if you aren't familiar with yarn language, you'll hear me throwing around, this is a DK weight, this is a fingering weight, this is a worsted weight, this is a bulky weight. These are all technical terms that the yarn industry has assigned to certain weights. And a lot of it has to do with how much yardage 2 grams is there, but that's not entirely it. So anyway, and I don't even know that I understand all of it. All I know is that this is what we would call a medium weight yarn. It's medium weight. And on the yarn labels, when you buy them, not always when you buy them in yarn stores, but when you buy them in Michael's, they almost always have a number. So this one says 4. So this is a 4 weight, aka worsted weight, aka medium weight. So this color is a soft orchid. It's really pretty. Not exactly sure what I'm going to make with this yet. Okay, but it's definitely, it's squishy. It is not the softest wool. We'll see how it is when I work this up into a garment and like actually put it against my skin. My guess is that it is going to be something that I have to wear a t-shirt underneath. So if any of you have made something with this yarn, let me know. I've used this yarn, but only for hats. And so that isn't as big of a deal for it to have a woolly, itchy hat. I am excited to try it because it is 100% wool, but it doesn't have a strong wool smell, which it's fine. It's fine. Because I don't know, maybe it's really highly processed. I have no idea. But I have 8 of these. That is enough definitely to make a sweater. So, okay, that's that. Okay, the other yarn that I got is, and I talked about this in my last video, it's Caron Simply Soft Tweeds. And I've used this yarn before. I actually used it in my, I have a knitting machine, an Addie King, I think. And so I can make beanies in this little machine. And so I actually used this in that, and it worked pretty well. The funny thing is that when I used regular Caron Simply Soft, not the tweeds, it did not have the same good results. So I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with my knitting machine. I'm sure we'll talk about that at some point. Anyway, so I only have 4 here, but I bought 5. This is acrylic, I believe. I did not bring my reading glasses. People. When will I learn? 97% acrylic and 3% viscose. My guess is that the 3% is the little tweedy bits. Usually the little brown bits here, the tweedy bits in yarn is usually a different material. And so that is my guess, that it's an acrylic yarn and then they've added viscose for these. I don't know for sure, but that's my guess. So this is 141 grams for one of these, and there are 240 yards in one of these. So that's quite a lot. So that's why I only bought 5. And even though I had over 20 projects already in the works, and I knew this at the time, I started this sweater and I shared it in my last video a little bit. So, but I have made progress on it since I last shared it, which is kind of fun. So I'm going to share that with you. This is my step-by-step cardigan. And as I've shared previously, this is a great pattern if you are just learning how to make a garment. It's pretty straightforward. It's very basic raglan sweater construction. So raglan they're typically made top down. This is my favorite way to make a sweater. It's top down, one piece, no seaming. It's my jam. So this is a cardigan. The only difference is that when I get down to the body, I'm not going to be knitting round and round and round. I have to go back and forth because a cardigan is open, and so it's flat. If you look here, yeah, I've made quite a bit of progress. I feel like I made like a couple inches of progress since the last time I shared it. This is the front of the sweater here. This is the right sleeve, and this is the back. Let's see, these are the seams that will run here in the front and the back. And this is the left shoulder. And then this is the front. And over here, I have these markers because there's 4 rows that I have to repeat 8 times. And they're very similar, except the 3rd row in the repeat, you increase on the ends, the sides here, because you're creating a V. And you increase at the raglan seams, and then you purl the whole way across. And then the first row, you start over in the first row, you're increasing still, but not at the ends, only at the raglan seams. So I had a hard time remembering that and had to keep, this is the ADHD thing too. Like I just couldn't remember, when am I supposed to do the increases here? When am I supposed to do the increases there? I could not. So I started adding these every time I got to the row where I was increasing both at the ends and at the raglan seams. And that helped me not have to look at the pattern every time I changed rows. And And I think it helped me move faster, which is fantastic. I will say that the reason I started doing this also is that I realized, actually, when I showed it to you last, there was a big error. I was doing those end increases on every right side. So I was adding stitches twice as fast as I was supposed to. So it was going to make for a weirdly shaped sweater. I think what it would end up doing is making a very shallow V, because it would have increased at a faster rate to get to here. But I didn't know I was doing that. So I could have made a sweater that was like essentially a wrap or something. I caught it in time. I decided to just unravel back to the point where the increases started and then did it again. And I was able to recover that in the same night, which I was pretty pleased with. In knitting, there are lots of different ways you can add stitches. One of the ways is called a make one. And there's a make one left and a make one right. And this is another thing, that every time I have a pattern that I am doing a make one, right or left, I have to go look up how I do that. Often I go find a YouTube video. I had an epiphany. But basically, if you pay attention to the direction that the stitches are intended to go. So here along this seam, you can see how the stitches are leaning out this way. That's because we're adding stitches. And so see how this column is shorter than this column, because we're adding a stitch, and now that's a new stitch. And so it's growing. And so these are leaning to the right and these are leaning to the left. Okay, so that's step one in my keeping track of where I do a right and where I do a left. Okay, I put these markers here so that I know before this marker, I'm going to do a make one right, because I've got the visual reminder here. And then also here, after this marker, so these two stitches in the middle, you just knit them normal. But then on either side of them, you're going to add a stitch. So here they're leaning to the left, so I know I'm going to make one left. Now the trick is, how do you do a make one left? And how do you do a make one right? And how do I know the difference? And how do I remember that they're different? And I know I'm not alone in this. But what I found is that when you get to your make one and you know you're making a make one right, I'm picking up this strand here and lifting it onto my left needle. Now, how do you know if it's left or right? It's the direction that the front leg, see this front leg, is leaning. So see how this one is leaning to the right? And this one, when I pick it up and then put my left needle through the front of it, do you see how the front leg is leaning to the left? So that is how you would do your make one left on this side. Then, okay, then the next question is, how do I know where to put my needle to pull the yarn through? And the answer there is, if you're able to get your needle in really easily, that's not right. Because it should be a little tricky to get your needle into the spot where you pull it through. And that's because you're effectively twisting that stitch around when you make it, so that you don't have a hole in this spot where you've added stitches. So I don't know if that helps you, but it helped me. Okay, let's talk my stash again. I was coming to terms with the fact that I had all these projects, and I was starting to feel a little overwhelmed by the fact that not only do I have a lot of projects, I have a lot of yarn, and there's this term It's an abbreviation, stash acquired beyond life expectancy. So stable, I think. Stash acquired, Sable. It stands for Sable. Stash acquired beyond life expectancy, which means when you have enough yarn that you probably can't use it all in your lifetime. That's what mine feels like. I don't know that that's true, but that's what it feels like. I went on Ravelry. So Ravelry is a knitting crochet website, and it's a great resource, and I keep all of my projects updated in there, and I have most of my yarn in there. This new acquisition is not in there yet. And what I've found is that you can export a spreadsheet of your stash, and then you can go to the yards column and add it up. And I have 66,000 yards of yarn. That's a lot of garments, that's a lot of accessories, that's a lot. It's just a lot. I love all of my yarn. I have been acquiring it over, I don't know, the last 15, 20 years. It's souvenirs. I buy it when I'm traveling. If I come across a new yarn store that I haven't been to, I usually try and buy something that's unique to that store or that general region. And so I love it all. And I think that's part of the problem, is that sometimes when you have yarn that you really like, it's very precious. And so it's like, I don't want to turn it into the wrong thing. I want it to be something that the yarn shines, and there's too much pressure, too much. And so what helped me, even though 66,000 yards of yarn is a lot, what helped me is that I was like, I have so much yarn that I don't have to be precious about it. I could just use it. And so that is going to be my strategy. I don't know what I'm going to use first. I do want to go through my other 12 whips with you another time, and figure out how many works in progress I really have. And then I want to get some of those off my to-do list. And then I will consider starting something new. Here's the trouble with my stash. A lot of it is 1-2 skeins of a single color. That's not enough to make a sweater. That's not enough to make a top. I can make scarves and hats, but I don't enjoy making those. I enjoy making garments. So that's just where I am in this stage of my life. I used to want to make a lot of shawls and scarves and things like that, and I just don't enjoy that as much because I don't wear them as much. I like throwing on a sweater that I've made with a pair of jeans. It's one of my favorite outfits, so I prefer that. I think we can get creative with how we use the stash in the future. So I'm kind of excited about that challenge of using what I have. It also feels more sustainable and responsible, trying to reduce the consumer mindset that we're always having to buy. It's another one of those things like when I talked about last time with ADHD and that need for dopamine, and that because our ADHD brains lack dopamine, we don't have enough. And so we're always trying to stimulate our brains so that we get more. And it's not always healthy, the ways that we can get dopamine. And so, like I talked about last time, one of those ways is starting a new project because it's really exciting and it's new and it's novel and it's challenging. And all of those things contribute to a spike in dopamine. Buying yarn can also do that because it's new and it's beautiful and it's exciting. And I can dream about what I'm going to make with it. And but it can lead to what feels like hoarding. And I don't want to hoard. On top of all this, I also have all of my mom's yarn. I have about 4 bins of her yarn. and she often made hats for charity. And so that is something that I feel like I want to do with that yarn. And maybe I'll get my knitting machine out and we can crank out some hats and donate them. I feel like I need to do that with her yarn, but it does mean I have more yarn. Yeah. So I think I'm going to stop buying. I think. Yeah, I'm not going to buy any yarn. I'm not going to buy any yarn. I promise. Is this how you is this it? Is this Scout's honor? I was never I was a Girl Scout for like a minute, so I don't. You do this? I don't know. Pinky promise. Pinky promise. Okay. The other thing, my large stash is also the reason why I have 22 projects. When I was home taking care of my mom, I started a number of projects because I was like, I have all this time. I'm gonna, do all these stash busting projects and work through it and get a bunch of this stash made into garments, and I'm gonna feel so productive. Well, it didn't. I don't knit or crochet that fast. So it was pie in the sky dreams. And also I was taking care of my mom. Like it's not like I was sitting on my tush most of the time. So what have I learned today? How is it making me? Well, I'm learning that I buy yarn to get a little boost. I start projects to get a little boost. And in the end, they don't help me long term. Because now it all feels a little bit like a burden. And so I need to get a whole handle on that. I'm wondering, do you guys, please tell me I'm not alone. Please tell me that you also have this issue. It might not be yarn and knitting and crocheting. It might be something else. I also have a large collection of plants that are slowly dying because my interest in taking care of plants has waned. I should probably gift them to people so that they can take care of them because I am being a bad plant parent. That's my update for you today. I'm going to continue working on this cardigan. I do want to finish this. I'm hoping I don't get bored with it before I finish. But if I do, I will pick up one of my whips to get excited about something again, and then I can come back to this. But I'm not going to start anything else. One of the things that I did realize in the last video is that when I have so many, then nothing gets finished because I'm bouncing all over the place and I need to be able to focus on one, maybe not entirely, but I need to have a main project that I'm working on, and then I can dabble in the others. It seems like a no-brainer, and yet I find myself on Ravelry often dreaming about what new things there are that I could make. It's all overwhelming, and it's not supposed to be. This is supposed to be life-giving. This is supposed to be relaxing. This is supposed to give me energy and be soothing and calming and quiet my mind and all of that. And I shouldn't pick up projects and have this immediate guilt of all the other things that I'm ignoring, or all the yarn that's waiting to be a project, or, it's too much. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just not going to buy any more. I feel good about that commitment. I'm not going to buy more. Okay. All right, friends, please like and subscribe and share this video and comment below what it is that you have, that you collect, or maybe feel like you have too much of. And if that's okay with you, or if you've found a way to limit that collection from being overwhelming. Have you figured that out? Let me know. I would love to hear it. All right, makers, I will see you in the next make. I will keep you updated on this sweater. I'm excited to keep working on it and finish it and share it with you. We'll see you in the next make. Okay, bye friends.